Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over our next winter storm for portions of the Northeast and the Great Lakes. This is going to be a smaller 1 to 3 inch event, but this is going to be more significant because it'll definitely aid in those wishes for a white Christmas. I know a lot of you guys do want some snow cover on the ground for Christmas time, and if you didn't get enough snow during Winter Storm Gale, some of these areas will be picking up an additional 1 or 2 inches, which will definitely help you last a little bit longer with that snow cover. And the areas that are looking to get the most impacted with maybe 3 or 4 inches of snowfall are going to be in the interior Northeast, away from the Great Lakes and also away from the coast, kind of that in between area, in between the Great Lakes and the coastal United States. So here's the current National Weather Service page, and then we'll go into the models. We're going to look at the GFS, the European, and the Canadian model, and then by tomorrow's video we'll have my snowfall forecast on this storm. So here's the National Weather Service page. We have flood warnings in effect for, or flood watches in effect for portions of Washington, as well as some winter weather advisories for Washington. We also see some winter weather advisories for portions of Colorado and Wyoming, with some avalanche warnings in effect for portions of Utah and Idaho. We see some wind chill advisories and some winter weather advisories for portions of central and northern Alaska, with some blizzard warnings over extreme southern Alaska there. We also see some wind advisories for portions of Kansas and Missouri, as well as some high wind watches and some high wind warnings for portions of Montana and Wyoming. And then we have just some dense fog advisories and some air quality alerts scattered throughout portions of the southwestern United States. And then we have some flood warnings for the big island of Hawaii, especially the eastern side of the island, where you guys are looking at some potential torrential rainfall for some of those regions. Now, here's what the current European model is showing, and this is the high resolution European model. So let's break down what's happening. You can't see it on this screen, but we do have a little area of energy that's going to be popping up from the south central United States. And again, it's not on the screen right now, but you'll start to see that move onto the screen in a little bit. We see that piece of northern energy that's going to be dipping down into this much colder air mass that we have over the eastern United States, because Winter Storm Gale did leave behind some very cold air. So we already have a cold environment, and definitely there's a lot of cold air for this storm to work with. So here to be by tomorrow morning, and we're starting to see some of that snow moving up into the upper Great Lakes. And then as we continue this forward into Saturday early in the morning, so this would be right around 6 in the morning Central Time, 7 in the morning Eastern Time, we're looking at some of that rain from that southern piece of energy moving into portions of the western Tennessee Valley and the central Mississippi River Valley. And then we're looking at that northern piece of energy sliding by to the north and to the east. So we're going to see these two pieces of energy really try and combine. What the European and the GFS are doing is kind of merging these together, and that would lead to a lot more snowfall for these regions right here. But what the Canadian model does is it keeps these two systems separate. So it slides this one to the south, it slides this one to the north. A lot of these areas in the interior Northeast would still see snow, but that snow would definitely not get its way further to the south like what the European and the GFS model are showing. So probably with another round of model runs, we'll have a much better idea of what exactly will happen. There's not a lot of uncertainty with the storm. We are fairly certain this is going to happen. It's just exactly where does that southern side of the storm set up, and also how much cold air is present. Is there going to be more mixing along the coast? Is there going to be more snow, more rain? That's kind of the little implications that we do have to figure out. And again, this isn't going to be a big major storm, but definitely something that we do have to watch out for. So here is by Saturday right around 10 in the morning Eastern Time, 9 in the morning Central Time, and we're looking at more of that rain and snow covering into the map. Now here to be by Saturday evening, so as we're getting to right around 7 in the afternoon in Eastern Time, and then 6 in the afternoon Central Time, when we're looking at that frontal system moving through. We see a little front kind of sliding through portions of the Ohio Valley. Again, that northern piece of the energy up through southern Quebec there, and that's going to be sliding to the east. We still see some below freezing temperatures over portions of the Northeast, so definitely we do have some cold air present. And as we continue this forward, you start to see that by Saturday or actually Sunday morning, right around 7 in the morning Eastern time. We're looking at some of that snow now starting to set up for portions of Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and that's going to continue to move further to the north. We see again that system sliding away further to the east. If we move on to the northeast view of this, we start to see a lot of that blue filling into the map for portions of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, into Vermont and New Hampshire. And then as we continue this forward, this will be right around 7 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. We're looking at more of that blue and snow filling into the map, especially over the interior northeast and northern New England. And we see that low pressure redeveloping off the shore right over here. But because that northern piece of energy is still lingering over the northeast, we're still able to see some of that energy. What the Canadian model was showing, like I said earlier, was this southern piece of energy a little bit further to the south and also a little bit further to the east. So these two never really converged. So what the northern piece of energy did was just kind of slide by, graze these areas with some light snowfall, but none of that snowfall really made it too far south, and it was mainly a 1 or 2 inch accumulation. The European and the GFS would show quite a bit more accumulation than that. Now, here's by Monday morning. Here would be by 1 a.m. on Monday morning, and then here's by 4 a.m. And it's really heading out into portions of northern Maine. And as we get past about 7 in the morning, 6 or 7 in the morning, it should be out of here. Now, here's what the GFS model is showing. Let's take a zoomed out view first to look at what we're dealing with. We have a high pressure in place that was originally up in Quebec, but because Winter Storm Gale moved out, it was able to slide down into the northeast. So now we have this kind of flow somewhat like this, where we have very cold air into the east. We have some milder air into portions of the central United States, and you're even getting very, very warm, 10 to 20 degrees above average for portions of the northern plains. And then we start to see that southern piece of energy start to form over portions of the Mississippi River Valley, over to the upper Great Lakes. We have that northern piece of energy, and again, these two are going to collide somewhere over the northeast. Now, if we play this forward, you start to see that by 6 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, here would be by 12 p.m. Central Time, and we're starting to see both of these converging somewhat. We see still two defined areas of low pressure. We see one to the north, one to the south, but we do now have a frontal system that is connecting both of them. So they are now connected. We're going to see this high pressure start to move out of the way to kind of make room for this system to move through. And as we see, this is how it actually plays out in the model. We start to see that by 6 p.m. Central Time on Saturday, and let's shift this over to Eastern Time. We're looking at 1 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Some of that rain and scattered snow showers moving into the east. That high pressure still dominating, so you might remain dry and even have some sunshine poking through as you get into the late morning on Sunday. But then probably by the early afternoon, they start to cloud over, and you start to get a little bit less sunshine here and there, and you actually start to get a little bit more precipitation into the northeast. Now, we're starting to see the effects of that high pressure, that cold air, start to move out, but we still do have some of that lingering cold air, and that's what's going to allow for some of that snowfall to set up over this thin area. Now, as we continue this forward, you start to see that by 1 p.m. we're dealing with snow, especially over Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, upstate New York, and then into portions of southern New England, and then that snow shifts further into portions of eastern upstate New York, northern New England, and parts of western New England as well. And then it's all said and done with. That would be all through the day on Sunday, and then here to be by right around 1 in the morning on Monday. And it's really the only areas that are seeing any sort of precipitation are extreme eastern New England, including portions of Maine. Now, here's what the Canadian model is showing, and this is probably the outlier model of all three of those that I just showed you. Now, we do see that we have that southern piece of energy still there. We see that high pressure still in place, bringing that very cold air further to the south and further into the eastern United States. And then we do see some more of that warmer air still pushing up into portions of the northern plains by this point. And if we continue this forward, we do start to see that that northern piece of energy does slide by, but you really don't see any connection in the form of some sort of front setting up over these areas. You don't see any front set up. You only see two distinct areas areas of low pressure on either side of on the south side and also on the north side of the United States, and these two never really merge. So what you end up seeing is something like this. You start to see some of that snow break out over the interior northeast, but notice that you really don't see any defined precipitation. It's more rain, snow showers, and it's not a real big band of snowfall like what the European and the GFS were showing. You do start to see a little bit of moisture trying to move into there as we get to Sunday evening, but again, it's not anything too major. And by this point, while the GFS and the European model might have that low pressure out to sea right around here, the Canadian model still has it back over here. So there is still a lot of details that have to be sorted out. Generally, we do know there's a lot of things that are still very clear with this. We do know that there's probably going to be some snow over these regions, but what we don't know is how far south does that snow go? How much exactly do we get? Do we get 3 or 4 inches, or do we just get 1 or 2 inches? That's what we still have to kind of refine, but that's definitely going to become a lot clearer as we get into tonight, and then probably by early tomorrow morning, we're definitely going to know what exactly will happen with this storm. So that really heads out of here by Monday morning, and behind that front, we were dealing with some scattered rain and snow lake effect showers. Now, here's what the Canadian model is showing. We're looking at a scattered 1 to 3 inches in those blues, and then the lighter the blue, the more snowfall that you're looking at. But again, it's not too much according to the Canadian model, and it's shifted much further to the west. Now, here's what the European model is showing, and it's not going to be too much, but it's going to be 1 to 3 inches with a couple pockets of 3 or 4 inches of snowfall. And you can definitely tell that if we go between both of them, you can tell that that rain snow line is a little bit further south, and that precipitation as a whole is shifted a little bit further to the east. And then if we're looking at what the GFS model is showing, probably this one's the coldest of all the models and probably shifts this further to the east than all the models, and it also shows a lot more snowfall. It shows scattered 1 to 3 inches with a few pockets in those lake effect bands over upstate New York where you could get maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 6 inches of snowfall on the backside of this storm. So definitely there is still a couple details that we do have to refine. We do know this is probably going to be generally a 1 to 3 inch event with a couple pockets of maybe 4 or 5 inches, or maybe even a little bit more. We don't know how far south that rain snow line is going to get. We don't know how far north or west the system will be exactly, but if you live over the interior northeast, you have a decent shot of seeing some snowfall over the next couple of days, and this will definitely add to your chances of seeing a white Christmas this year. So definitely enjoy the holidays, everybody. I'm going to be coming out with a couple more longer range videos soon, so we're going to be talking about mainly the long range because we are going into a bit of a drier pattern. It'll be cold, but it'll also be a lot drier. So definitely, if you do enjoy the video, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. If you do want a personal forecast, leave a comment down below, and I'll definitely try and respond to you guys within about an hour or two of you posting that comment. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.